was a small roadside diner on the edge of a quiet town. The neon sign outside flickered weakly, spelling out, Mary's Diner. Inside, the smell of fresh coffee mixed with the sound of rain tapping on the windows. It was late evening. Only a few customers sat scattered in silence. Among them was Emily, a young woman in her early 20s. She was different, not because she wanted to be, but because life had made her that way. Emily had been in a car accident 3 years ago that left her legs paralyzed. Since then, her wheelchair was her constant companion. But even with that, Emily's smile could light up the darkest corners of that diner. She worked there part-time, taking orders, greeting customers, and always leaving them with a kind word. She didn't talk much about her pain. She just tried to live each day. One smile at a time. The Bullies walked in that night. 3 men came into the diner, loud, rude, the kind who thought the world owed them something. They were young, mid-20s maybe, but already rotten inside. They took a booth in the corner, throwing their jackets onto the table and laughing obnoxiously. Emily rolled over with her order pad and her usual gentle smile. "Good evening. What can I get you?" One of them, a tall, tattooed guy, smirked. "Yeah, sweetheart, how about you get me your number first?" Emily chuckled softly. "Sorry, sir, I can only take food orders." The others laughed. "Food orders, huh? You're lucky you even got a job sitting in that chair," another one said cruelly. Her smile faded for a second, but she didn't react. She'd heard it before. "Would you like to see the menu?" she asked quietly. But they weren't interested in food, they wanted attention. They wanted to feel powerful. One of them whispered something, and before she could move, the tall one suddenly slapped the menu out of her hands, the paper flying across the floor. Everyone in the diner froze. The sound of that slap, not on her face, but on her dignity, echoed through the room. Emily's hands trembled as she bent to pick up the pages from the floor. The Bullies laughed. One mimicked pushing a wheelchair. Another threw a napkin at her. The other customers looked away. No one said a word. The waitress behind the counter was too afraid. Emily didn't cry. She just rolled away quietly to the back. The silent tears in the kitchen. She finally let the tears fall. Her boss, an older woman named Mary, came over and hugged her. "Sweetheart." "I'm so sorry," Mary whispered. "They're just cowards." Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. "It's okay, Mary, I'll finish my shift." But it wasn't okay. No one should have to live like that. Outside, the rain turned heavier. Inside, the Bullies laughed, finished their drinks, and left a mess on the table before storming out. They didn't know it, but the universe has a strange way of returning what you give. An hour later, the diner was quiet again. The rain had stopped. The neon lights reflected off the wet road outside. Then, the rumble began. Low at first, like distant thunder, engines, several of them. Mary looked up. Emily glanced out the window. 7 motorcycles pulled into the parking lot, chrome shining under the diner lights. Big, heavy Harley-Davidsons with the kind of riders you don't want to mess with. Leather jackets, long beards, tattoos. They looked rough, but their eyes were calm. They walked in slowly, the doorbell chiming. The leader, a tall man with a silver beard and kind eyes, nodded at Mary. "Coffee for all of us, ma'am." His voice was deep, respectful. Then his eyes landed on Emily, and he smiled gently. "Evening, sweetheart. You working late, huh?" She smiled shyly. "Yeah, always am." They noticed the red mark on her cheek, and the torn menu pages still under the counter. The silver-bearded man's expression changed. "Someone give you trouble tonight?" he asked softly. Emily hesitated. "It's nothing, really. Just some guys." He looked at her, then at Mary. Mary didn't say anything, but her eyes did. The man nodded slowly. "We'll be here for a bit." The return of the Bullies about 20 minutes later. The door opened again. The same 3 Bullies walked back in, laughing, drunk, loud. "Hey, sweetheart," one yelled. "Forgot my lighter." The bikers turned their heads in unison. The leader, known as Bear, leaned back in his seat, his eyes narrowing. Emily froze. Mary's hand shook as she poured coffee. The tall bully swaggered over to Emily again. "Didn't think I'd see you again, huh?" He smirked. Before he could say another word, a massive hand landed on his shoulder. It was Bear. The bully turned, and had to tilt his head up. "Something funny about picking on girls, son," Bear said in a low growl. The diner went dead silent. The bully tried to laugh it off. "Hey man, relax, it was just a joke." "Did she laugh?" Bear asked. No answer. The other bikers stood up slowly. 6 big men in black leather, each staring coldly at the bullies. Bear leaned closer. "I asked you a question," the bully stammered. No. Then it wasn't a joke. Lessons served hot. The bikers didn't touch them. Not once. But they surrounded the 3 bullies and made them pick up every napkin, every spilled drink, every bit of mess they'd made earlier. "Show some respect to the people who work for a living," Bear said. "You think you're strong because you hurt someone who can't fight back? You ain't strong, you're small." The bullies' faces burned with shame. They mumbled apologies, eyes down. When they left, one of them turned back and said quietly to Emily, I'm sorry," she nodded. "Thank you." When the door closed behind them, the bikers sat down again. Bear smiled. "Now that's better. Can we get some pie, sweetheart?" Emily laughed softly, her first genuine smile in hours, coming right up, the kindness of strangers after they ate. The bikers paid their bill and left a $100 tip. Bear said, "You keep being you, sweetheart. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small." She nodded, eyes wet again, but this time from gratitude. When they rode off into the night, the roar of their engines felt different. Not angry, not wild, but protective. Powerful. Kind. That night, Emily closed the diner smiling. Maybe the world still had good people in it, even if they looked rough on the outside. 1 year later, a new sign hung in the diner. Bear's Diner, in memory of a friend. Because a month after that night, Bear had passed away in a motorcycle accident. But before he died, he'd told his club to make sure the diner was taken care of, and that Emily never struggled again. The bikers kept their word. They bought the place. They gave Emily a new custom wheelchair. And every weekend, they showed up just to check in on her, because that's what family does. Not by blood, but by heart. Soft music swells. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather jackets and ride motorcycles through the rain. And sometimes kindness shows up when you least expect it, right when you've almost given up hope. Emily never forgot that night. The night bullies slapped her in a diner, and an hour later bikers walked in, and everything changed. It had been 1 year since that unforgettable night, the night when a group of bikers became angels in leather, the night when Emily learned that kindness could roar louder than cruelty. Now the diner was brighter, cleaner, and always full of life. Locals came not just for the food, but for the feeling, because Bear's Diner wasn't just a place to eat. It had become a place where people healed, and at the heart of it all was Emily O. New beginning Emily was different now, not in body, but in spirit. She wasn't the same shy girl who once cried in the kitchen. She was confident, smiling wider, laughing louder. She'd even painted her wheelchair with blue flames, the same color as Bear's Harley. Every morning, she'd open the diner doors, switch on the neon lights, and whisper to herself, "Let's make today a good day, Bear." Because in some way, she still felt him there, in the sound of engines passing by, in the kindness of strangers who walked through those doors. Mary, now older and slower, had given her full management of the diner. "You're the heart of this place, Emily," she'd said, and she was right. The stranger's return it was, a Sunday morning when a new group of bikers rode into town. Not Bear's crew. These were unfamiliar faces. Their jackets read, "Iron Reapers MC." Their bikes were louder, their stares colder. They walked in like they owned the place, and right behind them walked Jason. Emily froze. Jason, one of the bullies from that night. He looked different now. No smirk, no arrogance, just quiet eyes and a face that carried regret. He walked up to her slowly. "Hey," he said softly, "you remember me?" Emily looked at him for a moment. "How could I forget?" He nodded. "I came to say I'm sorry again." She studied his face. "You already did that a year ago, yeah," he said. "But last time I did it because I was scared. This time I'm doing it because I mean it." The other bikers looked around, impatient. Jason turned to them. "Give me a minute." Then he looked back at Emily. I quit drinking. Got clean. Been trying to fix things, you know. I heard this place was yours now. Thought maybe I'd stop by. Maybe help out if you needed a hand. Emily was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled softly. People can change. Jason, and everyone deserves a second chance. Jason began working at the diner, cleaning tables, fixing things, learning how to treat people right. He was quiet, humble, and hard-working. Most of the customers didn't recognize him, but the few who did whispered in surprise. Isn't that one of the guys who... Yes, but Emily gave him a job. Why? Someone asked her one day. She smiled. Because Bear gave me strength when I had none. Now it's my turn to pass it on. Jason worked every day without complaint. He never asked for forgiveness again. He just earned it. The return of the storm, but peace never lasts forever. One evening, as the sun set and the diner lights flickered on, the Iron Reapers returned. And this time, they weren't just hungry. They were angry. Their leader, Rick Steele Carver, walked in with a scar across his face and fire in his eyes. He slammed his helmet on the counter. Who's in charge here? Emily looked up from behind the register. That would be me, Steele smirked. You? Cute. He leaned closer. You see, one of my boys used to ride with your precious Bears crew. They took something that belonged to us, and I think it's time we took it back. Jason stepped forward. Steele, leave her out of this. Steele laughed. Oh, look who's talking. The coward who cried to a cripple for forgiveness. The diner went silent. Emily's jaw clenched. Get out, she said quietly. Steele leaned back, mocking. Or what, you'll run me over? Before Jason could react, the sound of motorcycles echoed again outside, engines deep. Thunderous familiar. The Guardians MC, Bear's crew, had arrived. The bikers walk in again. The door burst open. 7 men walked in. The same who stood up for Emily a year ago. Their jackets bore the emblem of a bear with wings. The leader now was Tucker, Bear's right-hand man. He looked around calmly, eyes settling on Steele. Well, Tucker said. I thought you Reapers learned your lesson years ago. Steele smirked. Guess we forgot. Tucker stepped closer. Then I guess we'll remind you. Emily's voice rose sharply. No fighting in my diner. Everyone froze, even Steele blinked. Emily wheeled herself between the two groups. If Bear were here, he wouldn't want this. Not in his diner. Not in the place he helped save. The bikers stood still. The air was thick with tension. Then Jason spoke. Steele, this isn't about Bear. It's about you not moving on. You're still angry at the world. But it's not the world's fault. Steele glared at him. You think you're better than me? Jason shook his head. No, I just stopped blaming everyone else for my pain. For a moment, Steele said nothing. Then slowly, he turned toward the door. Let's go. The Reapers walked out. No punches, no blood, just silence. After the store, when the last engine faded into the night, Emily exhaled. Jason looked at her. I thought you said no fighting, she smiled. And look, nobody did. Tucker laughed softly. You sound more like Bear every day. Emily's eyes softened. He taught me that real strength isn't about hitting back. It's about standing tall. The diner's legacy months passed. The diner grew busier than ever. Local kids hung out there after school. Truckers stopped by just to hear Emily's laughter. And bikers from all over came to show respect to Bear's memory. Emily had started a small charity fund called Bear's Hands to help disabled veterans and accident survivors get custom mobility. Gear Jason managed deliveries for her. Mary handled finances, and Tucker's crew checked in every week. The diner became a family, not bound by blood, but by loyalty, kindness, and second chances. One rainy night after closing, Emily sat alone by the window, the same spot where it all began. She looked at the rain and whispered, You'd be proud, Bear. As if in answer, the wind outside carried the faint rumble of a Harley. She smiled through her tears. Yeah, she said softly. I hear you. She turned off the lights, locked the door, and rolled out into the night. The rain fell softly against her hands, but she didn't care, because she knew. Bear wasn't gone. He lived on in every act of kindness, in every person who chose love over hate. A year later, the Guardians MC organized something special, the Bear Ride. Hundreds, of bikers from across the state gathered to honor and raise funds for disabled riders. Emily was the guest of honor. They'd built her a custom trike, three-wheeled bike she could control with her hands. As the engines roared to life, she smiled wide and whispered, "Let's ride, Bear." She led the parade down the open highway, the wind in her hair, the road stretching endlessly ahead. People lined the streets, cheering. Children waved flags. Tears glistened in eyes, because it wasn't just a ride, it was a statement. That kindness wins, that compassion heals, and that even when darkness falls, there's always someone who will walk in or ride in to bring back the light. Life will always have bullies, people who try to break others just to feel powerful. But every once in a while, the universe sends you protectors. They don't wear suits, they don't carry medals, they ride on thunder and fight with love. They're the proof that good hearts still exist, that even in a cruel world, kindness rides on. You don't need legs to stand tall, and you don't need fists to fight for what's right. Sometimes, strength is a soft voice saying, "No more." And sometimes, it's a biker riding in when you least expect it.